The café smelled of cinnamon and pine, but all Cassidy Wright could taste was humiliation. Her blind date had just walked out, chair scraped back, coat grabbed, excuse mumbled about a work emergency the moment he realized she was deaf. She sat frozen, staring at two untouched lattes while Christmas lights blurred in her vision. Then, small hands appeared on the edge of her table. Two identical 6-year-old girls with curious eyes were standing there, fingers moving in perfect American Sign Language. "Can we join you?" A man rushed over, apology written across his weathered face, sawdust still clinging to his jacket. But Cassidy wasn't looking at him. She was staring at those tiny hands, hands that spoke her language, hands that had learned from someone who understood. What she didn't know was that these hands belonged to daughters of a woman who had spent her life teaching deaf children, a woman who was gone, and this single father, this carpenter struggling to keep his girl's mother alive through every sign they made, was about to show Cassidy something she'd forgotten, that the people who reject you don't define your worth, the ones who choose to stay do. Cassidy had built her empire on the principle that silence was not weakness. At 34, she was CEO of a tech accessibility company worth $42 million. She had learned early that being deaf meant people spoke around you, not to you, made decisions for you, not with you. So she became the decision maker. Yet here she sat on Christmas Eve, watching steam rise from abandoned coffee cups, feeling like that 12-year-old girl again, the one whose classmates whispered behind their hands, thinking she couldn't understand rejection. The blind date had lasted exactly 7 minutes after Cassidy pointed to her hearing aids. His eyes shifted that universal look of discomfort she knew too well. First came the overly slow speech, then the checking of his phone, finally the exit. What stung was not his leaving, but the reminder that some people would always see her disability before they saw her. She reached for her untouched latte when movement caught her peripheral vision. Two little girls materialized beside her table, dark curls escaping from red knit hats, matching green coats, eyes bright with fearless curiosity. But it was their hands that stopped Cassidy's breath. Small fingers moved with deliberate precision. "Can we join you?" Real ASL. Fluent. Natural. Her own hands moved before her brain caught up, signing back. "Where are your parents?" He crossed the café in 3 strides, work boots heavy on hardwood. His flannel shirt showed beneath an unzipped jacket, sawdust dusting his shoulders. "I am so sorry," he said, voice rough with embarrassment. "They got away from me." But Cassidy was barely listening. She was watching his hands move through the reprimand, signing every word he spoke aloud, gestures fluid and practiced. "You sign," Cassidy said. She watched for the shift in his expression, the subtle retreat. It didn't come. "My late wife taught me," he said, correcting himself with visible effort. "She was a teacher at the school for the deaf. Harper and Quinn have been signing since before they could walk. She passed away a year ago. The girls get excited when they meet someone who uses ASL. I think it makes them feel close to her." His voice cracked on the last word. Cassidy felt something shift in her chest. "What are your names?" she signed to the girls. Harper grinned. "I'm Harper. She's Quinn. We're 6. Mom said some people hear with their eyes. Are you one of those people?" The question was so beautifully innocent that Cassidy found herself smiling. "Yes," she signed back. "I am exactly one of those people." She looked up at their father. "I'm Cassidy Wright." "And you are?" He seemed surprised she was still engaging. "Owen Fletcher." But Harper and Quinn were already pulling out chairs, shedding coats with the confidence of children who had decided this woman was safe. "Stay," Cassidy signed. "Please. They're the best company I've had all evening." Owen lowered himself into the chair, setting down his coffee with trembling hands. Up close, Cassidy could see the calluses on his palms, the wood stain that had permanently darkened his fingernails. Working hands. Gentle hands, she could tell by how carefully he adjusted Harper's hat, how he moved Quinn's hot chocolate from the table's edge. hands that had learned to speak a silent language for love. The four of them sat in Christmas light glow while the café buzzed around them. The twins asked questions with relentless curiosity. What did she do? Did she like Christmas? Could Santa sign ASL? She answered each one, falling into the comfortable rhythm of her first language. Owen mostly listened, occasionally translating when his daughter's signing got too fast. When Harper knocked over her hot chocolate, he had napkins ready before it spread. When Quinn grew tired and leaned against his arm, he adjusted to support her weight. Small acts of fatherhood, performed with unconscious grace. Your wife, Cassidy signed during a lull. What was her name? Owen's face softened grief and love in equal measure. Bethany. She taught deaf kids right out of college. When she got sick, cancer moved fast. She made me promise to keep signing with the girls. Said it was their inheritance. This language. His eyes met Cassidy's. I'm trying to honor that. Some days are easier than others. Cassidy understood inherited language. Her own mother had died when she was 16, leaving journals full of advice about how to demand accommodation without apology, how to build a life that didn't require fixing. She sounds remarkable, Cassidy signed. The girls are lucky to have that gift. Owen nodded, jaw tight with effort. On hard days, they signed to her photo. I don't know if that's healthy, but I can't stop them. It's like she's still here. But Cassidy didn't want them to leave. The cafe had grown warmer somehow. These three strangers had wandered into her ruined evening and made it matter. I don't have anywhere to be, she admitted. Tonight was supposed to be my return to dating after 3 years. She gestured to the abandoned cups. Owen's expression shifted to understanding, and beneath it, anger. Someone left you sitting here, on Christmas Eve? His hands moved sharply through signs. That's really unfortunate for him. Missing out on meeting someone extraordinary. Harper tugged on Owen's sleeve. Daddy, can Cassidy come to dinner with us? We're going for pancakes, Mom's tradition. She looked at Cassidy with pleading eyes. You're alone. We have room. Please? Cassidy started to decline, but Owen was already nodding. They're right. It's not fancy, just the diner we go to every year, but Bethany would have liked you. She always said you could tell good people by how they treat children. You didn't talk down to Harper and Quinn. Something in his voice suggested he was saying more than the words conveyed. So Cassidy found herself walking down a snowy street on Christmas Eve with a widowed carpenter and his twin daughters toward a diner that smelled of grease and coffee. She slid into a red vinyl booth while Harper and Quinn debated pancake flavors. She laughed when Owen admitted he couldn't flip pancakes to save his life, that Bethany had always handled breakfast. She watched him sign stories about his wife with hands that remembered her. And somewhere between syrup-drenched pancakes and Harper falling asleep against her shoulder, she realized this was the first time in years she had felt truly seen, not as a CEO or a disability, but as a person worthy of being included. The weeks after Christmas Eve unfolded with unexpected rhythm. Owen texted brief at first, then gradually longer conversations. They met at the park on Saturday mornings, Owen pushing swings while Harper showed Cassidy her rock collection. They met at the library on Wednesday afternoons, the twins on beanbags while Owen sat close enough that his knee brushed Cassidy's. Owen ran a small woodworking business from a garage workshop. He made custom furniture tables and chairs built to last. The work was steady but not lucrative. He showed her photos of a dining table made from reclaimed barn wood. Bethany used to say I could make anything beautiful if I just paid attention to what the wood wanted to be, he told Cassidy. I think she was talking about more than furniture. Harper and Quinn adopted Cassidy with straightforward affection. They saved drawings from art class, asked her opinion on whether unicorns were better than dragons, and started calling her Cass. Cassidy learned their routines. Harper liked sandwiches cut in triangles. Quinn preferred squares. She learned that they slept in matching beds with their mother's photo between them, that they kissed their fingers and touched her picture every morning. Small rituals of remembering that Owen maintained with devotion. She also learned Owen was struggling. The woodworking barely covered rent and groceries. He picked up construction work on weekends, leaving the girls with his elderly neighbor. He had medical bills from Bethany's final months still being paid in tiny increments. His truck needed new brakes, his roof leaked. Yet he never complained, never made his daughters feel the weight of it. Cassidy watched him sacrifice without martyrdom, saw how he made their small life feel abundant through sheer force of love. What surprised her most was how her own life expanded in their presence. She had spent years building walls around herself, professional success as armor, but Harper and Quinn didn't care about quarterly earnings. Owen didn't ask about her 5-year plan. They invited her into the mundane magic of ordinary life. Coffee at sunrise, walks that went nowhere, conversations with no agenda beyond connection. The complications began subtly. Cassidy mentioned Owen and the twins at a board meeting, explaining why she needed to leave early for Quinn's school play. She watched board members exchange glances. Later, her CFO pulled her aside. "People are concerned. You're the face of this company. Association with someone financially unstable, a single father still grieving it, sends a message. Investors worry about focus, about distraction." Cassidy felt anger rise. "My personal life is not up for board approval." The word date slipped out. She was dating Owen, even without labels. She was falling for a man who lived paycheck to paycheck, whose daughters signed to photos of a dead woman. Her CFO's expression made clear he had noticed. "Just think about optics," he said gently. Owen noticed her distraction during their next Saturday. "You're somewhere else today," he observed. Cassidy watched his fingers form the words and felt the familiar comfort. Finally, she told him about the board's concerns, editing nothing. She watched his face close down, watched him retreat. "They're not wrong," Owen said quietly. "I'm a carpenter who can barely cover rent. You run a company I couldn't afford to buy stock in." His hands had stilled. Cassidy felt something fierce rise in her chest. "I don't care what people see," she signed forcefully. "I care what's real. You're the first person in 3 years who looked at me and saw someone worth staying for. Your daughters speak my language. You honor your wife's memory. You work yourself to exhaustion for people you love. That's not instability, that's integrity." Owen's eyes were bright with emotion. "Cassidy, I have so little to offer you. My life is chaos and never quite enough money. The girls still cry for their mother. I'm still figuring out how to be both parents. You deserve someone who—" She cut him off with a sharp gesture. "Don't tell me what I deserve. I've had a lifetime of people making that determination. I'm done with deserve. I know what I want." "What do you want?" he asked finally. Cassidy didn't hesitate. "This. You. Harper and Quinn. Saturday mornings and library trips. I want to be someone your daughters run to. I want to be part of what you're building here. If you'll let me." The vulnerability made her feel stripped bare. Owen reached for her hand the first time he had initiated contact beyond accidental brushes. His palm was warm, solid. "You're sure? Because once you're in, once they attach more than they already have, I can't protect them from losing someone again. I can't survive losing you." Cassidy squeezed his hand. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm the most stubborn person you'll ever meet. Besides, your daughters have already decided I'm part of this family. I'm just following their lead." Something shifted in Owen's expression, relief and joy tangled together. He lifted her hand to his lips. "Bethany would have loved you," he said softly. "She'd be really happy right now." It was the first time he had spoken about his wife in a way that included moving forward, building something new. Cassidy felt the weight of that trust. As winter deepened, Cassidy existed in 2 worlds. At work, she was still the commanding CEO. But increasingly, her mind wandered during meetings, scheduled visits around school events. She started leaving the office at reasonable hours. Some saw it as balance achieved. Others saw it as dangerous distraction. Her personal world centered on the Fletcher family's rhythms, school pickup, homework sessions, dinners cobbled together. She learned to braid hair badly, to referee twin disputes, to recognize when Owen was stretched too thin and needed help with bedtime stories. Small truths shared in quiet moments built a foundation more solid than early declarations could ever be. The twins' attachment deepened. They included her in their bedtime ritual, pressing fingers to Bethany's photo, then to Cassidy's cheek, a blessing, a welcome. They asked her opinion on matters they used to reserve for Owen alone. Cassidy found herself fiercely protective, researching child grief therapy when Harper's nightmares increased. Owen watched her integration with awe. "You're a natural at this," he told her one evening. "I'm terrified," Cassidy admitted. "Every day I'm afraid I'll do something wrong." Owen smiled. "That's how I feel every single day. Welcome to parenthood." He bumped her shoulder. "But you're doing great. They adore you. And He stopped. "You what?" Cassidy prompted. Owen turned to face her fully. "I love you. Somewhere between that first night and now, you became essential. I know it's fast, but life taught me that time isn't guaranteed and feelings don't wait for convenient moments." His hands moved through the signs as he spoke. "I love you, Cassidy Wright. Completely. Terrifyingly." Cassidy felt tears prick her eyes. "I love you too," she signed, then said aloud. "I love you and Harper and Quinn. I love this chaotic, beautiful life you've pulled me into." Owen pulled her into an embrace that felt like coming home. They stood like that until Harper appeared. "They're being mushy," she announced. Quinn came running, assessed the situation, and nodded. "Daddy does that when he's happy." She looked up at Cassidy. "Does this mean you're staying forever?" Cassidy knelt down. "I'm staying as long as you'll have me. Is that okay?" The twins exchanged glances, then nodded. "Okay," Harper said. "But you have to come to our school Christmas thing. It's really important." The school Christmas event coincided with Cassidy's company's annual shareholder gala, a black tie affair where her presence was required. But as she looked at Harper and Quinn's expectant faces, the choice was obvious. "I'll be there," she promised. "Wouldn't miss it for anything." 3 weeks later, Cassidy stood in a crowded elementary school gymnasium, watching Harper and Quinn perform in a winter musical. They wore construction paper, snowflake crowns, and signed songs about winter wonderlands. Cassidy felt her phone buzz repeatedly, no doubt messages asking where she was, what she wanted them to tell the concerned board. She ignored every notification. Let them be concerned. She was exactly where she belonged. Owen stood beside her, tears streaming down his face, hands moving through signs along with his daughters on stage. "Bethany planned this," he whispered, "before she got too sick. She wanted every kid to learn basic ASL, seeing the girls up there, signing the songs she chose." His voice broke. Cassidy held his hand tight. After the show, Cassidy's phone rang, visual alert, flashing red for emergency contacts. The head of her board. "Cassidy, where are you?" The voice was tight with anger. "The shareholders are asking for you. This looks extremely unprofessional." She took a breath. "I'm at a school event. I sent my regrets last week." There was a heavy pause. "A school event, while your investors wonder about your commitment." Cassidy felt anger flash through her chest. "I understand that I'm a human being with a personal life. I've given this company 15 years of 16-hour days. I'm taking one evening off." The voice hardened. "The board has concerns about your relationship with this carpenter and his children. It's affecting your judgment. We need our CEO fully present, not distracted by domestic obligations." "Then perhaps you need a different CEO," Cassidy heard herself say. The board chair sputtered. "Are you threatening to resign?" Cassidy felt strange calm. "I'm saying that if my worth is measured solely by availability for cocktail parties, we have fundamentally different values. I built this company on the principle that people with disabilities deserve full, rich lives. That includes me. If the board can't support a CEO who actually lives those values, then yes, you should find someone who better fits your expectations. I'll expect to discuss this at the next board meeting. For now, I'm going back to watch children sing about snowmen." She ended the call. Her hands were shaking, She had just potentially torpedoed her career. And yet, looking through that gymnasium door, she felt no regret, only clarity. She had spent years building a professional identity so strong it could withstand any attack. But in doing so, she had forgotten to build a life. Owen and his daughters had reminded her what mattered. Owen found her in the hallway. "Everything okay?" Cassidy laughed, slightly hysterical. "I think I just quit my job, or got fired." She explained the conversation. "Cassidy, no, you can't throw away your career for us." He looked stricken. She grabbed his hands. "You didn't cost me anything. You gave me everything. The board wants a CEO who exists only for the company. I can't be that person anymore." Owen pulled her into an embrace. "You're sure?" She pulled back to look at him. "Your wife spent her life teaching people that different isn't less. I'm finally learning that lesson." Owen's eyes were bright with tears. "Bethany would be so proud of you. I'm proud of you." The aftermath unfolded over following weeks. The board called an emergency meeting. Several members argued that Cassidy's behavior was erratic, her judgment compromised. Others defended her right to work-life balance, pointing out she had never missed a deadline or failed to deliver results. The debate raged for hours, leaked to industry blogs, became a minor scandal about whether successful women were held to different standards. In the end, the board voted to keep her as CEO with the condition that she maintain clearer boundaries. It was a compromise that satisfied no one but allowed everyone to save face. Cassidy accepted. Knowing she had already won what mattered, she had refused to choose between career and personal fulfillment. The scandal made her an accidental icon for people tired of being told they couldn't have full lives and successful careers. What they were, increasingly, was a family. Cassidy had a drawer at Owen's house, a key to his door. Harper and Quinn had similar claims in her condo. They moved through each other's spaces with easy familiarity, building a messy, loud life full of joy. She learned to love Owen's morning grumpiness, his off-key singing. He learned to recognize when she needed space to process, to understand that sometimes she just needed him to sit beside her. Spring arrived with warmth that felt like permission. Cassidy's company launched a new product line designed with feedback from Harper and Quinn, visual alert systems disguised as accessories. Tablets with integrated sign language translation. The girls were thrilled to see their ideas become real products. Owen completed a major commission that allowed him to fix his truck, repair his roof, put money into savings for the first time in years. On a Saturday morning in late April, Cassidy took Harper and Quinn to visit Bethany's grave. Quinn had asked shyly, hopefully, if Cassidy would come. So she found herself in a cemetery, watching the twins place wildflowers on a headstone reading, "Bethany Fletcher. Teacher, mother, light." Harper signed to her mother about school and friends. Quinn showed off new ASL phrases. Owen spoke aloud, hands moving through signs. "Beth, I want you to meet Cassidy. Officially. She's become essential to us. The girls adore her. I love her, and I think you'd approve. She's teaching me that moving forward doesn't mean leaving you behind, that hearts can hold multiple loves without diminishing any of them. I'll never stop missing you, but I'm grateful I get to keep living." His voice grew thick with emotion. Harper tugged on Cassidy's sleeve. "Mom can see you," she signed solemnly. "She told me in a dream. She said you have a good heart and that Daddy smiles more now." Quinn nodded. "She said it's okay to love you." Cassidy knelt down, pulling both girls into an embrace. "I could never replace your mother. She gave you the best parts of who you are, but I promise to honor her by taking care of you and your daddy the way she would want. Deal?" The twins nodded. Then Harper kissed her fingers and touched Cassidy's cheek, the gesture once reserved for Bethany's photo, now extended to include her. That evening, Owen pulled Cassidy into his workshop. "I made something for you," he said, suddenly nervous. He uncovered a small wooden box, exquisitely crafted. Inside was a key. "It's a house key, but it's also me asking if you want to make this official. Not marriage, not yet, but living together, building this life intentionally. He met her eyes. I want to wake up with you every morning. I want you there for bedtime stories and middle-of-the-night bad dreams. I want the twins to know you're permanent. Cassidy picked up the key. Are you sure? Because I don't do halfway. If I move in, I'm all in. School meetings and doctor's appointments and all the chaos. Owen smiled. I'm counting on it. We need you all in. Cassidy laughed. Yes, absolutely yes. The summer passed in a blur of moving boxes and negotiated compromises. Cassidy's sleek, modern aesthetic clashed wonderfully with Owen's rustic pieces, creating a home that reflected their blended life. The twins adjusted with the adaptability of children who had survived worse transitions, though there were rough moments when boundaries needed clarifying. They had family meetings where Harper admitted she was scared Cassidy would leave like Mommy did, and Quinn confessed she felt guilty for being happy again. Cassidy learned the specific rhythms of parenting, the constant anxiety about their safety, the way time simultaneously dragged and flew. She learned she had reserves of patience she didn't know existed, that she could function on 4 hours of sleep if someone needed her. She also learned her limits, learned to ask Owen for help, learned that partnership meant neither person had to be perfect. Work continued with its demands, but Cassidy had learned to set boundaries. She worked from home 2 days a week, scheduled calls around school pickup, delegated tasks. Her team adjusted, her company adapted, and surprisingly, her productivity increased. Owen's business grew as word spread about his craftsmanship. He hired an apprentice, started getting larger commissions, began to breathe easier about finances. December arrived again, bringing the anniversary of that first meeting. Cassidy marveled at how much had changed, how she had gone from isolated CEO to member of a chaotic, loving family. On Christmas Eve, Owen made a reservation at the same diner. For nostalgia, he claimed. The twins were giddy, whispering secrets. After they ate, Owen cleared his throat. Girls, do you want to do the thing we practiced? Harper and Quinn pulled out a wooden frame with 3 photos, one of Bethany, one of Cassidy, and in the middle, a family photo showing all 4 of them laughing. This is our family, Quinn signed. All of it. Together, Harper added. Mommy's not gone. She's just different now. But you're here, and we want you to be here forever. Cassidy felt tears spring to her eyes. I want that too, more than anything. She looked at Owen, who was watching her with tender hope. There's one more thing, he said quietly, pulling out a small wooden box. Inside was a ring made from reclaimed wood. I made this from a piece Beth and I saved for something special. She would want you to have it. His hands moved through signs. Cassidy Wright, will you marry me? Will you officially become part of this family? The proposal was perfectly them honest and heartfelt, done over pancakes with his daughters as witnesses. Cassidy looked at the ring made from wood that had witnessed Bethany's life, offered now as a bridge between past and future. Yes, she signed, then said aloud. Yes to all of it. Yes, forever. Owen slipped the ring on her finger, a perfect fit. The wedding was small, held the following spring in the backyard of their house. Harper and Quinn served as joint maids of honor in matching purple dresses. The ceremony was officiated in both spoken English and ASL. When they exchanged vows, Cassidy promised to love Owen's daughters as fiercely as she loved him, to honor Bethany's memory and how she lived, to choose this family every single day. Owen promised to see all of her, not just the CEO or the deaf woman, but the whole person she was. They sealed their promises with a kiss while their daughters cheered. As they walked back down the aisle, hand in hand, Cassidy caught Owen's eye. He signed, I love you, with his free hand, and she signed it back. This language they shared that had brought them together. This inheritance from a woman neither would ever stop honoring. As night fell and guests began to leave, Cassidy and Owen stood together, watching Harper and Quinn chase fireflies across the lawn. We did it, Owen said softly. We actually built this. Cassidy leaned into him. We did, and we're going to keep building it. Every day, through hard moments and joy. That's the deal, right? We keep choosing this, choosing us. Owen kissed her forehead. Every single day, forever. The twins ran back, demanding one more dance before bedtime. So the four of them swayed together under string lights. A family assembled from broken pieces, choosing to become something whole. Cassidy looked at the faces of the people she loved and felt something she had spent decades searching for finally click into place. Belonging. Not conditional belonging that required her to minimize parts of herself, but full, complete belonging that said, "Come as you are, all of you, and stay." Years later, when people asked how they met, Cassidy would tell the story of a blind date who walked out and twin girls who walked in. She would talk about Christmas lights and sign language, about a widower teaching his daughters to honor their mother's legacy, about learning that love wasn't finding someone perfect, but finding someone who chose you perfectly. She would say that sometimes the worst moments create space for the best ones, that rejection from the wrong person makes room for acceptance from the right ones. But that was years away. On this night, Cassidy Fletcher simply danced with her family under the stars and felt grateful for a chance encounter in a café, for two brave little girls who asked if they could join her, for a man who had shown her that the right person would see her whole, complicated, beautiful self and love all of it. She had spent so long being strong alone, learning to be strong together, to let people in, to build a family from choice and commitment that had required a different kind of courage. But it was worth it. The fireflies blinked in the darkness, tiny lights against the vast night, and Cassidy thought about all the small moments that had led here. She thought about Bethany, who had taught her daughters a language that would connect them to a woman she would never meet. She thought about that Christmas Eve when everything changed. And she thought about the future stretching ahead, knowing that whatever came, they would face it together. This family, this impossible, precious, chosen family, forever.